Ahí está.
Hey, everyone.
Hey. Okay, Media Lab, I'm going to mute you. ¿Dónde estás? Hola.
Hello.
¿Nos oyes?
Sí.
Perfecto. Funciona y todo.
Funciona y todo. Muy bien.
Hasta me quito la mascarilla para celebrarlo. Muy bien.
Claro. Hello.
Pantalla completa. Un segundo. Ahora. Sí. A ver. Ok. Somos 11.
Yeah. I don't know if we're waiting for more people or we can give like a few minutes to people to join.
Great.
Cool background, Naoto. Nice trick.
Thank you. Yeah, now everything is so complicated. I have two computers, like changing everything. I hope it's okay because I don't do screen sharing, but if you can pin the video, then it would be great.
Okay.
Like if I talk.
Okay, great. I'm recording.
I
I hope that you might. But well, if at some point someone wants to share the screen, you're also welcome.
Yeah.
Admit. Oh, it's Ana Carreras joining. Wait for her. A ver. Slow. Ana. No. Well, I think we can start. But again, a small group of people. So thank you everyone for being here. Hola, Ana. It's great to see you all here. That's like great. But if you can mute yourself to not being on focus on the main thing, it will be lovely. I'm going to mute Media Lab as well. Okay. Okay, that noise came from Media Lab Prado. I'm not in Media Lab Prado. I'm Marta. I'm also a part of the Creative Code in Madrid work group. I'm still now like living in another place, so I'm so pleased to be like running this short Zoom meeting, and we are so pleased to have Naoto here as a special guest today. So I'm going to just pass the floor is yours. You can introduce yourself, talk whatever you want, and also share your screen if you are allowed. And if you want to ask maybe some questions, I don't know if you know how to use the raising hand tool in Zoom, or maybe you can just type in the chat, because I don't know if you prefer to leave questions to the end, or you can be just interrupted, so you can choose whatever you want to work with.
Yeah,
we can use the chat if you want.
Yeah, I think we can just improvise, and okay. If there's any questions, I can see the chat, and maybe I do it, spontaneously, or I can do it, at the end. And is it streamed already, right? Or is it?
Yeah, it's like analog streaming, okay, or something like that. But I'm also recording.
I see. I just wonder if there's like a real-time, comments on YouTube or something that because I'm not seeing that. So if there's any comments on Twitter or YouTube or something, if you can forward that to the chat in Zoom, that would be great.
I have here the Creative Code in Madrid Twitter account here, just in the other screen. So I will be your guest today. I'm going to mute myself.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd like to start. Let's say like I have like 10 minutes talking about myself and 10 minutes for another guest who is not present, but he left the slides for me. So I'm talking on behalf of Hauken. But I start with myself showing the screen. I hope the text is, you can read the text, I hope. I also have my slides open link. So if you want, you can just, if you can spread this link, that will be great. And you can just navigate through, but it's a bit disorienting because I made my slides, I call it non-linear, so that it's not like a one timeline, but you will discover things just like a wiki structure. And so every time I did different talks with these slides, same slides. Before I start, I hope that we care about each other and we are in the safe space, because it's about the community, and every time it's really important that we respect each other. This is I cited from the Berlin Code of Conduct, and if you go there, there's also translations in Spanish, Japanese, I think 9 languages. So please check that out if you're not familiar with this idea. Okay. I'm Naoto. Well, it's weird to have double me. I'm from Japan, and this is place where I'm from, and I currently live in Germany, in Cologne. And I took this photo, and so it's not so far from Madrid. And I studied engineering, and that's when I learned processing, for example, and also open frameworks. These are the tools I use. And then I transitioned to more into the digital art or art in general. So that's my background. And I think we are all familiar with processing, but basically, if you're not familiar with it, it's a tool for artists to create visual, or sometimes with sound or with hardware, installations, performances, any kind of visual graphical thing, artwork with a code. Or often it's used for education, for people to learn coding, but it's more playful to see direct output. And these are the photos from P5JS website. And P5JS is especially very special because we value the inclusive nature of the community. For example, no code snobs, new kid love, unassuming core, and Black Lives Matter. This is the text from the official website, Code of Conduct, and it's really important to, I hope everyone's really already familiar with this, but it's not like just for the geeks to share crazy techniques with processing or JavaScript, but it's about the inclusive nature of the community itself. And with that, I'm really excited that I've been part of different communities. Let's say I'm running or co-organizing the community in Japan. We call it Processing Community Japan, but it's started as a Processing Community Day Tokyo, just like this Processing Community Day Madrid. And one of the milestone we had was a release of P5JS 1.0 version, which is about, so now we don't add more features to P5JS, but it's, if we add features, it's about inclusive, to make it more inclusive. So for example, there is tool for blind people to see the sketch. Like if we have this sketch here, we can see it. Hopefully, well, I don't know, maybe some of the people listening to this streaming cannot see it, but if, well, let's say I can see the sketch, but not everyone can see the sketch. So what if we have a text annotation of the sketch like this? So this is one of the P5 dot accessibility library that's made by amazing contributors, Natura, Luis, and Cassie. And also, it's really exciting that it's not just about disability, but we have different translations of, for example, P5JS editor, and also this release of 1.0 was translated into different languages. You can also see it in Spanish. I think Aaron and Luis did translation, and also I contributed to the Japanese version. So it's really exciting that now this was something that may be exclusive to people who can read English, but not just references and documentations, but these kind of what's happening within the community, within the, let's say, the US or Anglophone community, can be accessed by people from different parts of the world. I mean, still, I think it's only in Japanese, Spanish, and Portuguese, but I'm hoping that this kind of movement will continue. And so that was kind of the more like a global sense of the community. By the way, this is a map of processing community day. I don't know if all of them are happened, but this movement is happening everywhere in the world. And one of the exciting things that is happening right now is, this one, oops. The topic today, the tweet processing. So there was this meetup in Sao Paulo, which happened earlier this year. I think it was sometime around June-ish, and they invited Japanese artists, coders, to present their sketches, because this tweet processing movement started from Japan by Hao-kun. I'm going to present his slides next, but there are other amazing creators in Japan, and we had like a discussion, we had like an exchange between Japan and Sao Paulo community, which is really exciting, because we cannot, well, some people can speak English, but most of us cannot speak the same language, but still we can communicate through code. And yes, so now we're here, and I want to also present something because I work also as an artist, not just running the communities. And here I made a challenge for myself, which is to create this kind of pattern, which is made in Hydra, which is another amazing community. Hydra is a live coding tool created by Olivia Jack, and we actually have a meetup after this PCD Madrid, starting at, I think, 7 in Europe. And you can make amazing visuals by very simple, like you don't need to know so much about JavaScript, but by experimenting with very simple structured code, you can create beautiful patterns. And for example, this is made in Hydra, and it's actually running in the browser. And to do this in Hydra, you just need this code. But of course, it's not as simple as that in processing or P5JS. So I had to do some tricks, or I had to work a little bit. So I started with making this kind of simple oscillator. I don't know how to point it. Anyways, by tweet processing and in P5JS. And I don't know, I think if I start explaining the code, it will take like another half an hour or so. So I would keep it simple, but basically I just looped for the whole pixels in the canvas, and using the sign function to shift RGB colors and make this rainbow texture. And because the challenge was to make it into this Kaleido effect, I had to work with the coordinates. There are so many tricks I used in this sketch. For example, this assignment inside a function argument, and also there's like I don't know how this is called, like spread or something, with array and map and arrow function. So all these things are like a standard JavaScript functions, but it's not something I discovered, but I learned these little tricks by experimenting and also learning from other contributors of tweet processing. So we're like really kind of accumulated knowledge how to make these interesting to use these interesting tricks and compress the sketch. So this is my contribution, and after this I usually use my tweet processing editor to minify it, and this is the resulting one, which I could fit Tinycode, C code Madrid, and also Tsubuyaki processing, which means tweet processing in Japanese. And I don't know if there's comments, but after this, I'm going to be transitioning to the slides from Haukun, who is the creator of tweet processing. Okay. So I'm here, but I'm presenting on behalf of Haukun. He's based in Japan, and he's actively tweet processing almost every day. And he's based in Japan, and by doing this tweet processing, so this is not just like he invented this tweet processing, but it became his practice to post new sketches every day. So it's like a hybrid of this tweet processing and daily coding practice. So this was when he started tweet processing. He said, spontaneously, I made a hashtag called Tsubuyaki processing. That was 2019, May 27th. So it's been more than a year. And this was the first sketch he made, which was using ellipses and different fill colors to make a flower kind of pattern. So this looks really simple, but it's actually really smart because there is no setup or draw. But if you use, I think this is written in processing Java version. So if you don't have any setup or draw, then it will automatically create a canvas, and it's just like running the sketch inside setup function. And this was like a tweet to follow up on what he did, because I think at this point we all know that tweet processing is a thing, and also Dan Schiffman in the last live streaming he featured what we've been doing, but back then this was like really like when he started, so he like followed up with what the idea of tweet processing, which like he's just explaining what processing is, and to kind of push the limit of processing by having a really strict limit of the 280 characters. This was the second one, which uses for loops to make a color pattern with HSB, hue saturation, brightness color palette. And yeah, this was 261 characters, but he started to feel like the potential of tweet processing. This is when he discovered that he can post a video on Twitter. So if you make you have to use this void draw function to iterate it and make an animation. This one is I think it's in 2D, but yeah, it's in 2D, but he's using begin shape and end shape vertices to make a really sophisticated flower-like pattern, or like rose-like pattern with shades that are not 3D, but it looks like 3D. And more complex patterns. This is like a grid, but I think there's like a tweening happening. So these plates are like coming to the plane, but like they're like decelerating as it approaches the plane, and then it penetrates. This is something that navigates in the tube. This one is 3D, I guess. Yeah, it uses P3D. And well, this is, I think, really, well, all of them are really impressive, but especially this one is using some kind of algorithm. I think it's like a recursive tree to make a, yeah, like a tree kind of pattern, like a binary tree. I don't know how it's called, with some kind of with animation. So just with this much of code, it creates really unpredictable pattern. And I don't know if this was something else, but using for loops and ellipses and overlaying on top of each other, he made like a flower kind of pattern. I really don't know how this is happening inside just one for loop. Yeah, this is just really impressive. And he's been making Tinycode sketches as well for this this event. And I think we're gonna have a chance to see these sketches. I just want to say something about, well, I want to say something about all of the sketches, but like this top left one, it's like particles, I think. That's just amazing. I think that he's using blend mode add to make a kind of glow, like a lighting kind of effect. And the bottom left, this one's really interesting one because he's using array of these numbers that represent these pixel art of each character. And it's not only Haokun, but there's another, well, there are amazing artists in Japan, and one of them, well, some of them made editor to create pixel art within P5JS editor, and that converts the pixel art into Unicode, and you can read that Unicode to be used in tweet processing. I don't know, this is really hard to explain, but it's like a collective effort to discover different techniques, and it's all about making the code shorter, and we can put more interesting things in the code. And the top right is, I think there's no video, but if you can find this tweet, you should definitely find this tweet because it's actually like a Pac-Man moving in the space and eating these dots. And this is just happening in 280 characters of code. And the last one, I think it's like a combination of like lines that creates a very sophisticated pattern. Yeah, if you look into this like this, it's just amazing like how he uses line and arc, cosine, cosine. There's like so much math happening, which I don't know what's I don't know how to explain. And the last second to last, he made this graph that shows. I think he's been like making these statistics of tweet processing, and at this time there's already 3,500 sketches, or actually posts that has hashtag tweet processing, which is really amazing. If you see this curve, like I think around here, 2020 February, when we had Processing Community Day Tokyo, that was when Haugen had a chance to talk about what he's doing. So everybody watched it and they started to, like it became, it spread more. So this curve really accelerated. And also, if you look at this blue curve at the same time, like this is a participants. I think it's a unique users on Twitter who's using this tweet processing tag. And that also started to become more and more. And right now it's more than 200 people have tweeted tweet processing. And at last, he's recommending, I mean, we recommend to do this practice because it's really nice, like a casual way to create code, because there's like a clear limit that you can do and you cannot do. So anyways, you have to fit something in the tweet, and so that you will end up with something, and you can just post it on Twitter. And also, Haugen is the one made the bot that retweets all the tweet processing tagged posts. So if you follow tweet processing on Twitter, you can see all the tweet processings. And yeah, like it's a really good way to get feedback from people, not just tweet processing. And but I'm running this PCD Tokyo Twitter account, and I'm trying to retweet most of the tweets on tweet processing. So you will definitely have visibility, and please don't be shy to post with the hashtag, even if you think it's simple, like it means something for the community. And we can, if you have also like questions, you should post it on Twitter, so everyone's really willing to help you to dive into this journey of tweet processing. And yeah, and like I said, visibility, but now this is like spreading all over the world, and it's just amazing to see that without having verbal conversation with language, people from Japan, Sao Paulo, Brazil, Madrid, and now with a coding train, everyone's using tweet processing as a kind of a common language for us. So yes, so please join this movement, and we are excited to see your tweet processing. Thank you very much.
That was great. Thank you. It was like a real pleasure to have you here today. I don't know if anyone of the present has like any question or anything to add, because this is like a meetup, so we can talk.
Yeah, it should be casual. And I forgot to say, but thank you so much for inviting us. And it's a really a pleasure to present in different communities.
Yay.
I have a question.
Yay.
I was just curious about, I know you mentioned like you did engineering before getting into processing. And I also have like a similar background, like I majored in mechanical engineering, and then I was introduced to processing through, I bought a book called, I forgot what it's called. Interactivity, it's called Interactivity, and Ben Fry wrote it. And after that, I was like, I basically did processing all the time. And then later on, I found out about P5JS and the coding train and everything. So that's how I did it. But I was just curious about like your background before, and like what led you to start processing, or how did you hear about it?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting thing. And I think the first time I learned processing was when I was doing my bachelor's degree, like almost like 10 years ago. And back then I thought it's really interesting, but at the same time I was quite lost because I don't know what to do with it. And so I left, like I tried it a bit and then I didn't do it for like 2 or 3 years, and then I learned open frameworks for like specific projects I wanted to do with projection mapping and these kind of like very specific projects, and I had to learn it. And then the reason why I went back to processing, I don't really know, but I think it's really nice that you just have to download the like the toolkit, the IDE, and you can start with it. And now with P5.js, you don't even need to download it. So like if you want to like share something like, or like just do like really quick prototype, it's really good way to do it. So that's kind of like a practical reason why I started to use processing again. But now I feel it's really, I think it's about the community, because open frameworks, for example, is it's still active, but I think if you compare the people like actively involved in the community, I think processing is really strong, and it's like one of the thing in the open source communities. And if
I also have a question.
Yeah, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Oh,
I don't know. I just want to add, like, with this processing community day and these movements, now not just people from engineering or like specific background, but people are like from like so many different backgrounds started to use creative coding or processing P5.js to create something, and that's just amazing to see like what people are creating with like combining with like illustrations, for example, or yeah, like they have like different inspirations, and this is very interesting to see.
so sorry to interrupt, but my question was, you did mention that there is P5 1.0 was released, and you mentioned that further features would not be further features won't be added, but accessibility would definitely be added more and more. So at what point did was it decided that, yeah, that's it, from now on we are not going to add any more new features, and what was considered before making that decision?
Yeah, so I'm not directly involved in that, so I can only say what I read, what I heard, but basically it's not about having more features and making like a, let's say, a better tool for hackers, but it's really important to see what are missing. Like, for example, I said the P5 accessibility for describing the canvas with the text, but there's also like now there's friendly debug messages. So instead of seeing the error message, like direct error message from JavaScript that you have to decipher what it means, P5.js is trying to give a bit more of a hint, so people have more ideas what that error means. So this is kind of the things that they're trying to add, so that it's to lower the barrier of starting to learn coding. And I feel like mixed opinions about it, but I really support P5.js direction, and I'm really interested and excited to see what's coming next from this motivation and this direction. And I think you can find the articles about 1.0, and there's like more detail about why this decision, why they decided so.
Thank you.
Maybe I have a question, just a small one. Well, when I find it amazing to see the history behind the Tsubayaki processing hashtag, because when I discovered that, it blew my mind, like what you could do with processing. And I must say my favorite creator from that hashtag is N2Tae. Like he does really amazing stuff I can't begin to understand yet. But my question is simply just, what's the difference between the Tinycode hashtag and the Tsubayaki? Like Tinycode, is it another community which I'm not aware of yet? Yes.
Yeah, I think it's really important to mention that this Tsubayaki processing is nothing really strict, and like Haugen has some ideas like what he expects in this Tsubayaki processing or tweet processing, but it's not like a strict regulation that you have to follow. So even if actually I sometimes see like posts that are just link to P5 editor or open processing saying tweet processing, which, you know, maybe they had like didn't understand it, but they just posted some sketch with like, you know, with no character limit, but having this hashtag. But that's also okay. Like it's not like a strict thing. So for example, I also tried on Twitter, you can have like a really long URL by, you know, adding like this question mark that you can append different text as a URL, and that's compressed as I don't know how many characters, but maybe 10 characters, but instead you can encode like 100 or 1,000 characters. It's a bit like cheating, but I tried that, and I actually asked him, is that also like considered as tweet processing, because it's exceeding the character limit, but you can fit into a tweet because of, you know, exploiting the specification of Twitter. Anyways, like these weird things, but he said like, yeah, it's fine. Like, you know, you just decide what you want, and like he wouldn't really, you know, decide what is tweet processing and what is not. So if there's Tinycode, if there's any other hashtags, that's also okay, I think. And but it's as long as like we respect that he's the one who started, and he's been actively posting this to promote and inspire people.
Right. Yes. Very inspiring, actually. Thank you.
Yeah, and Enutstein's tweets are like just amazing. I think if you search for Tsubayaki processing, his tweets will be on the top, or at least if you scroll a bit, you'll see his tweets with a train going on like a train track, which is just amazing. I don't know what's how he's doing it.
I also had a weird question, and this came from a weird thought I had. So imagine a person who is not into coding at all, and it will be very unlikely for them to like stumble into Tsubayaki processing, or even like it's very rare for them to even look at code. But if they do somehow end up looking at a tweet, minified JavaScript code honestly looks just like black magic, and it it may have an effect of turning them away from coding. So do you ever think that that may be possible, or do you think that seeing such a small code do such beautiful animations would actually inspire them to learn JavaScript? So what's your thought on that?
To be honest, I have no idea. They might not think that it's actually code, or, you know, they might think that it's just a random internet art with weird text. So I wouldn't say that you know, it will scare people, but I think there's like interesting, let's say, initiative, or like a, how to say, community. Like I think it's called JS1K. That's it has like a bit longer character limit, but basically they're trying to compress JavaScript into a certain limit. I think maybe like 1,024 characters, and do amazing Canvas or sometimes WebGL animations. And I feel like they are trying to make it like the code itself is also part of the artwork. And I think for subjective processing, it's also like that it's something that the sketch, the visuals actually comes with that strange JavaScript code.
Understood.
And well, for sure, some of the presents you submitted some Tinycode into Twitter, because I'm looking into the submissions part, and it's something amazing because we have like 160 codes right now. I can't remember, but I don't know if you want to share like any thoughts or any tips you had to follow to just compress your code into the super tiny sketch, because maybe some of you found like a different techniques to achieve that. So it would be lovely if you want to share some of those tips, if you want.
Yeah, I think there's like a nice tutorial on open processing. I think I tweeted like maybe last week or after Dan's live streaming, and this covers most of the like basic tricks how to compress tweet. For example, you shouldn't use frame count, but you should have like one character and increment it every frame to save the characters.
Yeah, and I think you already mentioned it, but another trick I learned, and I guess everybody does know this already, but you don't have to, have a separate iteration, like incrementation step in your for loop if you iterated the last time you used a variable in JavaScript, or like if you're updating if you're defining a variable, you can do it within a line of code, and then like what I'm trying to say is if you that you don't need a separate line to initialize a piece of variable and then use it. The first time you're using it, you can on the spot initialize it, and that's fun. And that sometimes saves a couple of characters, and that can get you down from like you might be around 200s, and that might bring you down below 200. So that's a nice little trick.
Yeah, also like I want to share like really strange tricks that I found while I was working with particles, is that I often use a map function from an array. And if you have like a variable name dot map, Twitter thinks that it's a URL and it might end up with more characters. So how I did was, I think if you use underscore as a variable name, then underscore dot map is not a valid URL. So Twitter thinks that it's not a URL. So this is like really, I don't know who needs this, but I had to use it once in a while. Before that, I had to use dot find function instead of dot map, which basically does the same thing, and it's not a URL, so it worked. But then you have to use 4 characters for the function instead of map 3 characters. Can I ask you a question, actually, if that's possible? I'm just wondering, like, because this movement is becoming such a huge thing, but it's still, I feel like what's difficult is because everything is happening on Twitter, all the sketches are kind of like washed out after some time. Like you can still search it, but it becomes really hard to use it as archive. So I wonder, like, if anyone has an idea of how to keep these tweets and or the sketches and maybe do an online exhibition or something at some point.
I have a piece of answer. There is a platform, an existing platform that is Twitter with a D. Let me, and it there is a flow of GS code beneath under 140 characters. So maybe something like Twitter, but with Canva embedded on each tweet would be really great. I know there is a lot of platforms. There is open processing, etc., and there is search engines on this platform. But Twitter brings something new and maybe better. Also, maybe a processor. How can I say? There is that maybe old computers won't be able to access the flow because of the enormous amount of code on the page. But a platform such as this one would be fun, I think.
Yeah, Twitter is really interesting platform. It's nice to just scroll down and see sketches, and I think especially Emmett Stye, he's picking up some interesting tricks from Twitter and using it into his tweet processing.
Yes, and the fact that the tweet, it's the visualization is embedded directly under the tweet, that is really nice, because I wasn't be able to capture the GIF with 60 frames per second. I just managed to have a MP4 that wasn't acceptable. So a future platform like this for Tinycode would be awesome, I guess.
So I was also thinking of something, but this doesn't exist yet. This would have to be like made, I guess. But one session I had is to the way Tinycode works is we just post our code and it does stuff. So it's not like there was a challenge was posted and then everybody is attempting the same challenge, and then we can see who is doing it in the least number of code. Like just as an example, like if I were to say, okay, write a piece of code which animates the drawing the dragon cow or something, like some problem statements like that would be given, and then people would submit their answers and they would be scored on the number of characters they have. So this would bring up a more of a competitive field to the people are already like doing crazy stuff, finding all sorts of crazy tricks and tricks to reduce it even like a single character. But if you bring another like a challenge to it, people will be even more creative, is what I feel.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting point. But I would say like it's good to, I think it's good to keep like two different tracks. Like one is like maybe like sometimes competitive thing to accelerate, let's say, the discovering interesting tricks, but also like you have to embrace the diversity of the community, and it's not always about competition, and that's really interesting aspect of like how to how do I say, yeah, like if you're running community or if you're part of the community, I think it's good to know like two different directions.
Yes, yep, agreed.
Well,
actually, let's yeah, please go ahead.
No. Please go on.
I just wanted to add, like last April and May, we had this daily coding challenge. Well, it's a challenge, but it's not like a competition. But the idea was for like 50 days, because Japanese alphabet is like around 50 characters. We had like each day, like we had different characters or words starts from that character, and people create a sketch that's associated with that word. And this was really interesting because like people are creating sketches around the same topic or idea, and it's nice to see like how people interpret the word or the idea and visualize in different ways. And some people did daily coding. This was like a more broad concept, so you can code any kind of processing or even different tools, but some people did with tweet processing for the whole 50 days. I think Hauke did it for sure.
Well, I'm not sure if you can hear me. I'm Alfredo from Media Lab. Okay, perfect. Now, just to let you know that we are a few people gathered here at Media Lab listening the projection on the big screen. So we are following. We don't have many single instance of the room chat, but we are all together now. So what I will proposing right now, since we have a little bit more than half an hour, I recognize it in the list of participants in this Zoom chat. Many of the authors that sent some of the sketches to this call. So maybe some of you would like to share what about their experience in coding such a very weird way. I don't know, maybe I may start myself. I found the constraint very challenging for one side, but I think that, I don't know, I think designs get better when you have a constraint. That's all. Is when people get smart. And so it doesn't mean that then you have to use the same techniques, but this idea of reusing variables and so on, for me, it was very, it was mind-blowing. I mean, it's a little task that you put to yourself. And then the other things is that since it's so complicated, you realize once again that this coding community is so big, inclusive, and open. So it's very easy to find someone that helps you. Then Daniel Schiffman came up and used the same topics for a coding train. So I'm really impressed by this experience. So for me, this has been very nice one. I don't know, maybe some others of the authors may want to share what about his own experience in this call. Feel free to use English, Spanish, or whatever. I mean, I know English will be better for many of us, but if it's that's the problem, we can.
Or Japanese.
Okay. Definitely.
I'll go first, if that's okay. So, as you said, this is a very weird way of coding. You like usually when when I usually code, I'm always told, okay, make your code as descriptive as possible. Don't be afraid of using long variable names. If that makes your code more readable code is the best code, maintainable code is the best code, and all that. So this is kind of polar opposites of how we are supposed to code professionally. But this is still so fun. It's like I don't know why this is so much fun, but there is just there's some satisfaction you get when you take a piece of code which you already wrote, which was like 4 pages long, and suddenly you work at it, you keep chipping at it, and suddenly it's just 100 characters of code, and it does more or less the same thing. It's kind of a satisfactory rush. It's very difficult to explain, but it's very satisfying to do that.
And did you do with processing or P5JS?
I did it with processing because I started with processing. I'm more of a Java programmer, but I did it with processing because the one thing I love about processing, even P5, even more than processing, is, as you said, I don't have to download anything, and mainly that I can share my stuff. So once I'm done, I have a ready-made link. In fact, I have 3 ways of sharing it. I can share the sketch, I can share the full screen presentation, and I have so many ways to share it. So that's how I got into P5JS, and I have stuck to it ever since. Actually, I should start trying to do processing a bit more. But so far I've been doing in P5. And JS as a language itself is very friendly to code golfing. It has all sorts of weird functionalities, which normally I will curse at it. It's like, what is this? How is this working? But when I'm code golfing, it's like, wow, thank God for JS, right? So as I said, it is very counterintuitive to how we normally code, and it really shows you how much JS and processing and stuff like this can achieve with just minimal amount of code.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay,
yep.
So I'll share a little bit. For me, it was a little bit strange because I was doing with processing Java and not P5. So this minify stuff, I didn't use it. And it was quite challenging because when you see those 256 characters, you think that is okay, it could be, but it could be done. But then when you start doing it, it's quite very few characters. And something happens to me is that I really changed the way I used the variables. I don't know I really how to pronounce it. And then I had to not use variables when I used to do it, and then use them when maybe in times when I shouldn't do it because I want to understand better what is happening in my code. Yes, so maybe sometimes you don't use variables just to understand what's happening in your code. And then with some of these sketches, when I finish them, I just tweet them and look at them, and I thought, did I write this? I couldn't understand my own code after all the process of minifying it.
Yeah, I think it's for me, it's really important to save both before minifying and minified code, because it's impossible to put the minified code back to the original code, even if it's processing or P5.js, because you do like all these tricks, and you end up with magic spell, but you cannot tell what was happening. So if you want to continue working on like same concept, it's nice to have like to save the original one and minify it. But if you work tomorrow with same concept, you can start with the original sketch without hassle to find out what was happening. And also, like, I wanted to say that we talked about processing Java and P5.js, but also there are some, I wouldn't say weird people, but they are weird people using processing.py, Python mode. And they have, like, Python mode has different characteristics. I think they have some advantages in like a map or like a for loop. And there are some amazing works made by processing.py. I think today it's not possible to run it, but you should definitely check it out.
Hi. My experience was that when I was seeing the tweets by any other people, I was thinking, no way I can do things like that. I don't understand what they're doing. It's magic, is what you said. This is black magic. But my process was doing a normal sketch and try to minify it. And I was surprised in the first one that I think wasn't using as many characters as I thought that it would. I would need to make just a simple lines doing. And after that, I said, okay, I tried to do something more complicated. To be honest, I had to sweat a lot to compress because there was about 30 or 40 characters over the top, and trying to do all the techniques that, making the variables with just one letter and everything, and you still have 30 characters over the top, and said, what else can I do? But actually asking for help, there were some nice people that could help you. And we had in the end we had even 2 characters left, so we could there was room for improving it.
Hey, so in the same vein, I'd like to say that my experience was kind of interesting because there's something that you mentioned, Naoto, which is about, you know, limits that are put to our situation. And for me, I hadn't had to compromise on stuff for a long time. And when you have to do this, and just like you said, Alberto, when you are 13 characters past, at some point, you have to compromise artistically and you have to say, okay, this won't do it and this will. And it's kind of cathartic, I found, to artistically say, okay, well, this will have to go and this will stay. And in the end, I think it's nice to have this kind of constraint. So I really enjoyed it.
No, I definitely feel that this point is definitely true. In the code which I try, whenever I try to minimize stuff, I always want to preserve as you know, to always have the old code as you said, like have the old code to have and then try to golf it. So I will try to keep all the features in the old code, but as you said, at some point we have to make a decision. Okay, yeah, this is not, this has to go. And as you said, so usually we don't make those tough decisions, but when you're faced with you know, a hard character limit or something like that, then we are forced to make that decision. And I think that's healthy because it really helps us focus on what is the actual meat of this, what will impress more, and what is more eye-catching than, you know, having this instead of, you know, colors. I can have it in black and white and it will have the same effect. So maybe I can shave off 50 characters if I don't want colors. So that kind of thought process also super weird because you never want to drop features when you're professionally coding. But when you come to, you know, code golfing, it's turning it completely upside down. So it's a new challenge and it's always challenge. It's nice and it's challenging.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
also think that.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I was just going off. I thought I really liked the aspect of the challenge. Like I had never done a coding challenge before, and it was nice because I was having like coders block or whatever. I wasn't sure what to make or anything like that. And the first one I did was way too complex, and there was no way I was gonna fit it in the, you know, in the tweet. And then the second one I did, I was over as well, so I had to actually simplify it a lot, and the result was graphically it wasn't like the super interesting. It was like pretty simple, but after that, I like developed it more into like a more cohesive and like whole idea. So even in the sense that I wasn't able to upload like the complete or what I would consider like the complete code, like it was a starting point, and then it helped me, you know, develop a more complex idea.
I just wanted to say that the best thing of all that was seeing your tweets after 2 days and realizing that it's as complex and as cryptic as the ones that you were looking before beginning.
Yeah, I think you said that. Like, did I make this? Did I manage to do this? That sort of feeling comes, and it really does look like black magic at the end. And especially, I'm not, as I said, I'm not too into, I'm not done processing in Java, but P5 in JS, it just looks like black magic at the end because it's just a bunch of, you know, brackets and weird characters and semicolons and just a few English words, and somehow it is producing beautiful, beautiful animations.
Yes, on some of the things you were saying, for me, it was definitely that this constraint, this character number constraint, how it somehow shaped the sketches, because my sketches, at least, they are like they are because of this constraint, and also they are all black and white. and also these other variables, they are just one letter, and this makes the sketch looks like more magic or more, I don't know, more strange code or something.
Yeah, I'm sure like everyone had the moment that I have to go black and white because I cannot use colors anymore. I cannot fit this fill, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. More often than not is color mode. That just color mode, that one function will ruin you.
Yeah, and you're wasting 10 characters. That's too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Naoto.
I was mute. I don't know if the people in Media Lab wants to share some of the sketches and talk about the projection and Programa La Plaza platform. Maybe it's the moment for that. I don't know if you're hearing me. Hola. Alfredo. Yay.
Okay. I'm not sure you can see me because we are really in the dark here to keep the projection better. But no, we are gonna to try to make the public screen of all the code we received so far. So we will start in less than 20 minutes. So we'll try to make in time. We are trying to fixing the streaming. So we are almost sure we will be able to record the public screening. So someday, starting from tomorrow, maybe we'll be able to publish all the registration, the recording of what we'll project. But it may happen. Thank you for sharing the. Okay, perfect. So we got an URL at the Programa La Plaza. Maybe we can share the URL in the chat. Maybe Marta, maybe you can do it. But there is a gallery, and that's the playlist of almost all the code we have received so far. There are a few of them that are not suitable for the projection on that platforms because they are written in Python or for reasons like that. And so we will do the public screening anyway. So we managed to record a video of those sketches, and we'll see. You will not find it on the Programa La Plaza with the player behind that's the website. And if you get in, there is a gallery here, Ver Galleria.
Galleria.
That's it.
Tinycode.
So we will manage also to make it to make the URL public in the next days. So to tweet the URL and to make all this content available for everybody. But I think that's it. I mean, stay tuned on Zoom to see where our attempt of live streaming will happen. Now, Sergio and Pedro, two of the guys that did a lot of work for this call, are already downstairs trying to fix in cable stuff and all the logistic. And so, oh, wow. So I don't know. So I don't know if someone of the people who is here want to share. Seems to
because
no, okay. I don't know if it's up to you, Marta, if you want to.
Me? There are so many sketches here I cannot choose. Like a random picker or something like that. Because yes, some of the people of the group they were taking all the codes from Twitter and translating them into Programa La Plaza platform. So they were like doing a great effort about doing this translation.
Sorry, one more thing, Marta. Sorry, I forgot to tell. If you went to see this platform, you will see that we posted using some kind of anonymous user. So you will recognize the title, if any, and the name of the author in the title. So it look in the gallery as submitted by anonymous volunteer and so on. But so this is made by Pedro, the one who really made it. But the authorship should be kept in the title of every sketches. Is the text you see just below, and we use name and your Twitter username.
I'm going to open Anna's one. 1 second. Yay. Cool.
Este es mío.
I knew that. It was yours. That's beautiful because it looks like so glitchy. I like it. You know, but I love glitch. Anna. Yay. So let's see if the screening with the live streaming is not possible, they will record this as well. So, and we will upload the full video so you can see your sketches in the Medal Prado facade. So it's going to be great. Just a
and maybe we can have like a shout out to Processing Foundation. Like they are now have this campaign for donations, and you can get like stickers or I think like T-shirts or something. And Anna is also contributing, so I thought it's a nice time to say it to support Processing. If you have yeah money to donate, it will be amazing. It means a lot for the community.
The t-shirts and the hoodies are super nice. Self-promotion. Donate for Processing.
I want one. So they are trying to set up the streaming in a new Twitch account. So let's see if they can do the live streaming with the phone, because they cannot connect from inside Media Lab. So they're going to try to connect over Twitch. So when it's ready, I think that they will post the link on Twitter. So like be ready to see if it's alive, because I think they're going to start in a while. So I'm going to just stop sharing my screen. A second. Haha. So I don't know if any of you wants to add something. It would be lovely. It was a real pleasure to be here like this small amount of time, but it was great to see the community growing. And because this thing with the pandemic, it has this good side that we can connect with people from all around the world, and this kind of online things they are going to be more used to do like often. So that's a great side of all this situation.
Yeah, and thank you for inviting me and hosting this amazing, wonderful event.
Yes, really. Thank you. Really, thanks for making this thing. As I said, I really loved coding in a weird way, and the satisfaction, as I said, of making a code work. I mean, I guess it's the first time I'm code golfing. That's why I'm so excited. But this is really super satisfying to do. So thanks to everybody who arranged it, and obviously a shout out to Dan for bringing it to my attention. I never knew of there was a Subiaki processing tweet unless Dan brought it to my attention, and now I'm hooked. I'm just going through Twitter every day to look for code. So amazing work.
Yes, thanks. I start coding with processing when Marta did a workshop on Media Lab about Arduino and processing, and I learned to code thanks to processing and all the things, beautiful things that I saw this day, the evolution to P5GS and the easy way to share your creation by the web and the people likes and these type of things are blowing my mind. I will use for mapping and iteration by the web. My personal evolution, getting programming and processing is amazing. See the code live, the shapes that it generates and the colors improve your skills, and it helps me when programming graphic tools and all the things. So 5 years ago, I discovered a new world, and I fall in love with this type of technology, this type of art, and I don't know, my mind is blowing. I like so much. that I'm reading a series of tweets in Twitter based on processing for help people to know what is the function setup, the function draw, and what is the mechanisms to P5GS and the web.
I really like to thanks to the organization. And I was, I think, 2 years ago in Processing Community Day there in Madrid. I'm not from there. I'm quite in another place. And I really like it that this time it becomes so international. It's amazing. So I'm a little bit curious of the background of the people that was doing those sketches. My personal is that I'm from arts, and then I learned coding and processing because I'm coming from the art and I wanted to do these kind of things. But I don't know of your background. I'm quite curious about it.
I came from arts as well.
Venga, then I'm the opposite. I'm coming from engineering, but I've been doing creative coding and arts during 20 years now. So the way around. That's why I'm using a lot of colors instead of black and white as you do.
So even I am from an engineering background. I did computer science for my major, but I always like beautiful things, beautiful art. I always love it, but I always felt that I don't have the artistic skills to draw or color or paint, which is why when I found that you could do creative coding and make the system do the, make the code do the drawing, I was super excited. And it's something, it's always satisfying to see what you made right in front of your eyes. And that's why I said P5JS and processing. You code and you immediately see the results, and it's super satisfying to see something pretty come out of, as I said, relatively small code. And Tinycode just takes it to an extreme. You write 140 characters of code, and on the as a result, you see beautiful animations. And that's something I love about coding. Even though you don't have the skills to draw, you can make the code do the drawing. So that's nice.
Hey everyone, I'm a little late to the party, but like Harry said there, I'm from a physics background, and it's great because I can't use a paintbrush. So the good thing is you can use this code to do it for you. And having a physics background, and I'm sure as as engineers, it helps with a lot of the transformations and the trigonometry and a lot of the stuff that you inherently need to make this stuff work. So I know it's a very interesting question, whether you come from that kind of technical side or creative side, but I think they all kind of come together when it comes to processing. So it's a pretty amazing tool.
Yeah, sorry guys, but I think that even if you come from science, once you are curating and choosing and drawing, you are doing something that is artistic by nature. So you are saying that you are not artists, but I don't agree with that. I think that once you choose, once you create, once you are creating, even if it's with code, you are doing some artistic things. So yeah, so congratulations for that. I also love that part.
Yes, in my case, when I was thinking for develop a graphic tool for Android or for web or operative system, I was very I don't find the way, but thanks to processing and the use of the function like red xy x2 y1 y2, and the way that the the shape is created, I found the way to develop tools, because it's so easy in processing, and you can give this information for all of the systems, for everyone you need to make.
No, I definitely agree. In fact, I always feel that with processing and P5, the bulk of the I don't want to call it the boring part. It is still interesting, but the bulk of the code is written for you. So you just call ellipse and it takes care of drawing ellipse for you. You just call begin vertex and it knows what to do. Whenever you're processing with image, all you have to do is say load pixels and suddenly you have a pixel array. So the vast amount of functions which are available within the P5 and with the processing lets you focus on what you're thinking about, and leave the other aspects to for P5 to handle. All you have to do about is thinking, how can I make this even more appealing? How can I make this more colorful? Or what you can focus on what you are building, instead of going down the rabbit hole of, okay, do I want the circle to have 5 pixels to the left or 4 pixels on the left, something like that. It lets you think about the important stuff.
Also related with what Anna was saying, I think that we could start saying that we are drawing also. I mean, I have a friend of mine who was, he used to do a lot of illustration and then start working with not processing, but PVB. And then the people were saying like, it's a pity that you don't draw anymore. And his answer was, I do draw. I don't draw with a pencil, but I do draw.
Actually, I began coding. My background, I did fine arts, and I was doing 20 years ago websites in Flash, and I realized that it was easier to code them than to animate and to draw in Flash. That's why when I started coding, and from that, moving into processing was a natural way.
Yes, and the use of WebGL in processing is a complete revolution. So, you can give your own model, your own textures, put in a sketch, and give interactivity. It's amazing. You don't need a hard and libraries like 3GS or something like that. Only with P5GS and putting the create canvas WebGL, you can do things in 3D so easy. It's amazing. Specular materials, ambient materials, point materials. It's amazing.
Okay, so sorry to interrupt, but Sergio is in the plaza. You can see he is streaming with the phone, the Mega Lab facade. Sergio. So all the sketches are running now. That's great. Even with those beautiful dead pixels in that screen, we love that ones too as well. That's great. Oh,
Okay.
Now, thank you for coming. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for hosting, and it's amazing. And we should. I think I see it more like a starting point, and it would be nice to continue collaborating like this. And
For
nice
sure.
to see Sergio showing the display. So I'm really excited to see all the sketches. Thank you very much, and have a good night or whatever, wherever you are. Have a good day, have a good night.
The same.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sí, ya estoy roncando.
Qué guay, Sergio. That's so great. Cada día hay más píxeles muertos. No te dimos. You're muted.
Hola, ¿me escucháis?
Sí.
La historia, vamos a intentar hacer un streaming mejor,
vale.
Mientras estamos todavía montándolo. We are going to try to make a better streaming, like public one with Twitch or YouTube. Yeah, we'll share the address when it's done, when it's ready. But meanwhile, you can enjoy it in my phone. ¿Te da bien?
Super.
Sí.
Yeah, there is no one in the street.
Me encanta.
Well, there are a few people because in Madrid there can't be groups more than 6 people gathered in the street. So like just all spread out all over the plaza. Look at Mario. That one is super cool.
Ese es mío, ese es mío.
I mean, this thing with emojis, I think is super cool. I never thought about that. And
Es un
like,
sueño
amazing.
cumplido, ¿vale? Es un sueño cumplido ver un sketch mío en la...
That's so great. That's so cool.
It's a dream. See a sketch, my own sketch in the...
I think we will be able to display only the projects made in P5 because the others in Python we are having troubles with the system to project them. So maybe a different day. Today we will be able to project just a few ones in made in Python or processing the original processing.
Wow, congratulations for organizing this and managing to get things in the facade, translating everything into the sketches for the Programa La Plaza system. And that's super cool. I can understand that everyone in all around the world would love to project things there. Super wide.
Yeah, it's super right. That's great.
Yes, and the ad hoc tool for compress the code is the god in code because if I don't have this web code, I think that the half of the sketches of my sketch don't be in the compository because
That's so good.
I'm sorry, do you have an Instagram where you'll be sharing something about this?
No, we don't have an Instagram account. We have the Twitter one and a Facebook page that we really don't use that much. So we're more active on Twitter right now.
Oh, okay.
Maybe in the future we can create a Instagram account. Yeah, that was cool.
I hope.
Sergio, se te va a dormir el brazo.
This is WebGL or is today in 2D?
I don't know. Maybe it's just 2D. because this screen is super low res. So I don't know if it's needed to use WebGL. Cool. Hey, look, Ana.
No lo veo.
Pinea a Sergio.
Es que estoy en plataforma web. No. Y solo te veo a ti y algunas veces a
Sergio,
quien
di
hable.
algo. No, ya pasó. O bueno.
Da igual. Veré el directo o veré el vídeo.
Ya.
Es que estoy en plataforma web porque no me instaló estas mierdas de Zoom.
Oye.
Sorry.
I'm gonna try to put it on Twitch or something. So I'm gonna disconnect from here and
vale.
put it on Twitch.
We can close here this call, I think, because I also have to leave. Gracias, Sergio. It was like really cool.
Thanks for the stream.
Analog stream. Well, so thank you for coming, and take a look into the Twitter account to see the good link for the streaming. Okay, it was a real pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Hey, that's super nice.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Gracias.
Really amazing work, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Vale, bye.
Adiós.
Adiós, presentadora.
Me voy a soldar altavoces. Hasta luego. La vida. There's still people there, but yeah, I'm going to just stop the recording.